Hello again. I hope everybody had a nice break and lunchtime and that we can continue in a very productive way. So the following session came out somehow unexpectedly. At the onset of the EMYA 2022 session, we couldn't even imagine that, even not only at the onset of the session, but even at the latest stage when we were, after we have conducted all the visits to museums and we started planning this very conference, we couldn't really imagine that today we would be speaking about the needs and challenges, but also incredible efforts of museum colleagues in Ukraine and the rest of Europe, in particular, I would say, the neighboring countries, in the direction of providing support to Ukrainian people and at the same time looking for ways to protect its cultural heritage. During this session, we will be hearing from three incredible individuals, museum professionals, whom I would like to invite to join me at the stage. So first, I would invite Dominika Mroczkowska-Rusiniak from the National Institute for Museums and Public Collection in Warsaw and fellow EMYA judge from this year. Then I would like to invite Agnes Aljas, our host here, research secretary of the Estonian National Museum and ICOM Estonia chair, also fellow EMYA judge. And virtually, we will be hearing from Ihor Poshyvailo, Director General of the Maidan Museum in Kiev and co-founder of the Heritage Emergency Response Initiative, set up in reaction to the current Russian invasion of Ukraine. So I would like you to give applause to Ihor, maybe, because he's directly on call.
Thank you.
So, okay, so Ihor, can you hear and see us well?
Yes, perfect.
We don't see him on the screen?
We did before.
Okay, yeah, okay. So first, Dominika will tell us something about the way this escalation and invasion of Ukraine affected her daily work and work of museum professionals in Poland. Thank you.
Relationship with Ukraine. Many Ukrainians live with Poland. They're our neighbors, colleagues at work. A few days after the invasion, mother and children began fleeing from bombs and Russian tanks, often with one suitcase or backpack, carrying babies in their arms. People came to Poland exhausted after a few days' journey by train or on foot. Many people abandoned their cars on the way to the border and just walked. They were terrified, under terrible stress and shocked. For me and many of my friends, also colleagues from the museum across Poland, the first week started with checking the news in the morning. Was Kiev conquered whether Lviv was shelled? We made sandwiches and packed first aid packages. There were night trips to railway stations and the border. Sudden phone calls from friends asking for help. Funds were raised literally for everything. For many of us, meeting a fugitive was very difficult. Nobody prepared us for such a situation. We didn't know how to react. Sometimes we had difficulties communicating, but sometimes a hug was enough. We started to help spontaneously. Donations were organized, like cleaning product, medicines, beddings, mattresses, prams, sleeping bags, toys, as well as containers for transporting cats. People went to the railway station to help the refugees with transport. First aid kits, food, and hygiene products were prepared. They were welcomed with hot tea, sandwiches, and soup at the border and provided free transport across the country or even Europe. Poles invited refugees to their home, sharing everything they had. What I'm saying applies to the museums community, but also museums as institutions. Museums recognize that it was their duty to help people who were fleeing the cruelty of war. Therefore, it was decided to implement immediate and long-term measures aimed to meet at least some of the needs of the refugees. There have been many initiatives undertaken by the museums in various areas. I chose a few of them to illustrate the scale of the help. Let me start with bottom-up aid organized by museums. Many museums offered permanent and temporary exhibition free of charge for Ukrainians. Guided tour in Ukrainian or with interpreter, art workshop are in many museums. Museums also organize workshops with Ukrainian artists who have found refuge in Poland. The National Museum Kraków organizes workshops with Daria Aljoshkina, an artist from Lviv specializing in large format paper cut. The National Museum Kraków also has made available a room where pregnant Ukrainian women meet weekly with Ukrainian midwives who have been working in Poland for years. The Józef Piłsudski Museum organizes meetings for Ukrainian and Polish mothers and children from the neighborhood so they can get to know and support each other. Many museums have made guest rooms available to employees and families from Ukrainian museums. Museum staff also helps to accommodate guests to Polish living and educational realities. The Polish Museum, the winner of EMYA 2016, is also actively involved in helping. Special free workshop and a manual about how to talk to children about the war were prepared. A psychological help point was established for families hosting refugees. Also, to support Ukraine, a charity concert Solidarity with Ukraine was held. The income was allocated to the Kitchen for Ukraine program, under which Poland organizes hot meals for people staying in the temporary accommodations for refugees. European Solidarity Center, a winner of Council of Europe Museum Prize 2016, also helps. The center made a playroom available for children who are taken care by staff speaking Ukrainian. The Hello program for new residents of Gdańsk has been launched, run by psychologists with refugee experience. The program aims to acquaint Ukrainians with the city and its culture and citizens. Polish language courses were also launched, as well as a support group for refugees conducted in Polish and Ukrainian. The Sunflower Solidarity Community Center was set up by the Society of Friends of the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw as an emergency supportive initiative. People learn Ukrainian and Polish languages, prepare meals, and collect medicine and humanitarian aid. You can participate in various workshops for children, educational activities, and meeting with artists and activists. The main goal is to explore Ukrainian culture and art. People share their stories, experiences, and skills. Sunflower is also a home to an international think tank that researches contemporary politics from the perspective of Eastern Europe. The aim is to wait for better times, to support each other, seeking the answer to the questions about the role of art institutions in the time of war. Inter-museum initiative also began to emerge. The Center of Polish Sculpture in Orońsko, Art Ujazdowski Castle, Zachęta Gallery are running crisis residences for artists and their families, offering accommodation, allowances, daycare, medical consultations. Institutions offer artists place for creative work, access to all facilities belonging to the institution. ICOM Polska has prepared a package of humanitarian scholarship, ICOM Poland Relief Fund, which will be granted to museologists in need and will help them to take their first steps in the new reality. As part of a long-term assistance, ICOM Polska starts the process of networking newly arrived specialists from Ukraine in the environment of Polish museums. National Institute for Museums and Public Collection collects information of the activities of Polish museums in Polish museums. We are about to implement a series of training courses for Ukrainian museologists. To sum up, I can say that Polish museums reacted very quickly to the war in Ukraine. Extensive material support was offered, but most of all psychological support. Museums have turned out to be a safe space for refugees fleeing the cruelty of war. It should be emphasized that many of those actions were organized with a great support of Ukrainians living in Poland. Well, I just can say that museums are not the walls, but people. Slava Ukrainie.
Hello, I'm Agnes Aljas from Estonian National Museum and EMYA judge, and we decided that I will give a little bit more like more distant view to the events from the countries which are not so frontline as to Poland has been. And I have to admit that 24th of February is never the same for anybody living in Estonia, for example, And the thing that had shocked me maybe the most, being ICOM Estonia chair, that maybe few hours after the start of the war, my email box was having a letter from ICOM Czech that what do we do? And this is something what you normally don't think that big international organizations are doing, or they are able to act so fast and quickly. And after leaving the first days of statements rounds, I think the question what everybody asks themselves is how they can help. Of course, a lot of museums have contacts to Ukrainian museums, but having the understanding and the need, and we will hear Ihor for a very short time, if I will finish, about the activities that Harry has done with the backing materials. I think it put all the museums who are very close to Russian areas to think like what would they really do when something like this happens, what you never really think nowadays that could be. And thinking on what you and your country would do and how you would really think and preserve the things that you find valuable in your culture. I think the things that museums have done are so many. If you go to NEMO webpage, if you go to ICOM webpage, you can see that many museums who are sitting here today, they have done so many charity projects, so many residences projects. Most of the things are related to the backing materials and the safeguarding or transportation of the cultural heritage. And then the other side is related to the people who are somewhere in the Europe from the Ukraine. So you can see that our photographer, who is not the male one, is from Ukraine, for example. And this is something what a lot of museums in Estonia have done. So just for a few examples, that I think we have more than 30,000 people who have come from the war to here. I think our museums have all free entrance for the museums. And there is a lot of different things that you can see in our museum also, how you can support the museums. And I think this has been the main role of the museums. And I can see in Estonia, in Estonian society overall, that this kind of, if we are now in the war, which has been for 71 days, I can't see that there is kind of the fatigue of the topic, but people are in professional level and also in personal level very much attached to the topic and to the possibilities to help. The only question is how long it will all continue and what will be the next steps, what we could really do. But I will give the floor to Ihor, and I think he has more important things to say. Thank you.
Ihor?
Good afternoon. I'm so honored to join you at this very important conference, very important event. It really becomes much more important concerning this situation in Ukraine today. I'm very grateful for such a fantastic and such emotional and such an active display of solidarity with Ukraine from so many countries, from so many museums, cultural institutions, politicians, individuals. And let me shift to what really we are doing, getting such a great and support internationally and worldwide. Do you see my slides?
Not yet. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. I think
Okay.
we'll see them soon.
Okay, we all well know, and it was stressed before, that Russia's aggression against Ukraine has inflicted countless crimes, sufferings, and casualties. In such circumstances, the greatest support should be offered, obviously, to civilians who have been subjected to barbaric bombing, and Ukrainian soldiers fighting the aggressor. So we are speaking about so many losses and destruction of military facilities. It's quite understandable. Also, civilian losses are incredible, and Ukraine, with the help of international community, are documenting these crimes against humanity. But of course, we have a considerable cultural losses. Today, Ukrainian museums and cultural institutions face extreme challenges, including how to respond effectively to emergencies and threats during the war, how to protect employees, premises, territories, collections, artifacts, historical sites, and monuments, which are the heritage of many previous generations and local communities, and not only to Ukraine, but also to the rest of the world. Here you can see some of the most vivid examples of the cultural objects being damaged or being ruined in the Nos, in Sumy, Ohtirka. You see the Museum of Local History. Very dramatic illustration theater in Mariupol, which was completely destroyed with several hundred victims because people tried to find a shelter in the theater, and we discussed what is the role of cultural institutions, museums in particular. So the cultural institution theater sheltered the people who tried to escape from air bombing. And we have some statistical losses of about 300 at the moment. Objects of cultural heritage are damaged or destroyed in almost half of the territory of Ukraine. Just a few numbers. Over a dozen museums, a lot of monuments, libraries, theaters, but the biggest number are in places of worship, churches, cathedrals, even synagogues and mosques. The goal, therefore, to respond to the situation and to answer very simple questions in the very first day of the war, because I got a lot of calls from institutions, from my friends, from my colleagues worldwide. The question was very simple: how we can help you? And it was not easy to answer immediately because it was kind of a mess, and it's quite understandable. Therefore, in a few days, we tried to self-organize, and a few institutions, museums and NGOs organized the HERI, Heritage Emergency Response Initiative, which in Ukrainian sounds a little bit different, Штаб порятунку спадщини. And we tried to launch and to answer this question systematically. So we launched the questionnaire all over Ukraine, asking our colleagues not only in the museums, but libraries, archives, theaters, other art institutions, what are their needs on the ground, what kind of losses they have, in what situation and state they are at the moment. And so based on that needs, we created a database, and we tried to respond to the requests from our foreign colleagues, from abroad. With some time, we established a kind of a more stable coordination, because not a lot, but at least a few initiatives appeared immediately in the cultural field, mostly in Lviv, in safer location, where it was possible at least to understand what's going on, to analyze the situation, and to respond adequately to the threats and to the needs. And so we defined 4 major goals for our initiative, a voluntary initiative. So we want to create an emergency response system, the network, and to develop capacities and infrastructure, because it was important. It was one of the most important lessons for us on the 24th of February, that we are not ready. We do not have one systematic, stable, and well-coordinated emergency response system. Besides, a lot of efforts have been undertaken due to our international partners since 2014, when the war started. So our main goal is, of course, protection of cultural heritage by doing a lot of actions, including what was mentioned today, providing museums some packaging materials, helping them to evacuate their collections within the buildings, to safer locations outside, to protect their staff, to provide some humanitarian assistance to those cultural heritage teams in different regions, and mostly in the situations under threat. The most important direction for our actions was not only packaging materials and evacuation, but documentation of the threats, of the losses, of the damage, and of course attempts for musification and memorialization of the losses and crimes. And of course, it's on a tactical level. On a strategic level, we are working over preparation for the early recovery period. So the goals, I mentioned the goals, and here are our tasks. They are very concrete. And by the way, you can see, you mentioned before that help from our partners, from a lot of museums in Europe, in the United States, in Canada. And here on below, you can see some boxes. I don't know if you see clearly, with the inscription Slava Ukraini. We got them, by the way, from Estonia, and we are very, very grateful to Estonian museums, to the Ministry of Culture. And in the center, you can see the inscription, "Good luck, we are with you, Louvre team." So we got a lot of support, a lot of materials, but not only materials. We, among our tasks, are raising and developing capacity, individual and institutional. We provide trainings due to international organizations like ICROM, like ICOMOS, UNESCO, Europa Nostra, Peace for Heritage, and a lot of other institutions. And you can see some of our guidelines, which we developed ourselves. Some we translated and adopted due to UNESCO or ICROM. And in this, I would like to stress that we had to develop some instructions which I have never seen before publicly disseminated. For example, what to do and how to behave for museum people, for cultural heritage professionals in the situation when their institutions are occupied, when people with guns come to your location, to your site, and they force you for a collaboration, what you do, what are your first steps. Because in many situations there is a shock, and we got a lot of requests from the ground, not only for packaging materials or trainings, but just guidelines, what should be done. So we have a lot of tasks, and we try to respond according to this. And we also provide and launched a kind of an expedition, field expeditions, together with the ICROM and international partners, due to support of Prince Claus Fund. We launched the damage assessment and the risk assessment field expeditions. And in a parallel, we collect objects, we musificate different very important objects, movable, immovable. And on the right to me, you can see that famous rooster, the ceramic rooster, which became famous worldwide because it preserved in the wall of the block of flats, which was ruined due to the air bombing in the city of Borodyanka, city near Kyiv, which completely destroyed. And this rooster is in our collection today. So we have a lot of important directions of activities, and the network is being enlarged, and we are very grateful again to support from our colleagues who especially have special experience. For example, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in many emergencies, which can be so practical at the moment. And speaking about the challenges, there are a lot of challenges, and I just put some of them, that it was not enough level of preparedness for rapid response to the threats Ukraine faced in the first days of the war. Besides and despite the war started in 2014, 8 years ago. In the first days, we need the immediate, very quick response to the needs from the ground. It was not easy. We started to get some kinds of help in a few weeks, because it was a lot of time passed for coordination, for logistics, and it's quite understandable, but we should take into consideration that even in a very quick logistics, the help can come in a week or two from abroad. Of course, the situation in Ukraine is quite a big country, and the war front lines and all the military activities were simultaneously in so many regions, because Ukraine is almost surrendered. by the aggressor, by Russians. And it was not easy to understand and to clarify the needs and even logistics, how to transport, how to pass that need to to different regions, which today are in the threat. Tomorrow they are occupied. The day after tomorrow they are deoccupied, with all the challenges and all mining situation and closed, restricted admission to that regions. So it's a big challenge. Also, no enough agreed or disseminated solutions for evacuation of collections, because on the governmental, on the horizontal level, everything was fine, but on the vertical level, not enough coordination and understanding who is responsible, from whom permission should be given to museums, to cultural institutions for evacuation. And it took some time, despite Ministry of Culture of Ukraine tried to coordinate this with military, with civil defense authorities, but still it's one of the biggest challenges to take decision and to organize the safe process of evacuation of the collections and people and staff. Coordination I mentioned, and of course the need for crisis management leadership. It was very clear defined in our situation, and we need much more work in this field. And of course, I think it's typical for many countries that the military, for military, cultural heritage is not priority, unfortunately. And in this situation, a lot of efforts should be taken for coordination with them in many situations. For example, in taking special positions for fire, or digging the trenches, or help for evacuation, or just getting access and getting success to that damaged or destroyed cultural objects. So it's brief. I know that my time is limited, but that is in general. That's at the moment, 2 months after the large-scale war started, we, at least our initiative, has a network, national, local, and international. We defined 4 or 5 directions what to do. We are organizing the first aid groups and teams for rapid response in different regions. We have organized some logistics to quickly pass and satisfy needs on the ground, especially in the regions which are under occupation or are in the zone of threats. And we also trying to be quite active in providing training courses of different topics, starting from how to use fire extinguishers, how fire protection topics, and continuing psychological help. I'm not speaking about very simple like emergency evacuation issues. So this work is quite active, and we coordinated with other initiatives within Ukraine. And in this, I'm very grateful again to all the fantastic efforts undertaken by our colleagues worldwide. And we see that museums really are getting outside the walls, getting outside their formal responsibilities. They tried to feel the needs and try to help each other in this situation. And the feeling of this solidarity and this fantastic efforts already invested, it is very inspiring and empowering us here to really protect culture. And we understand this war is not only the war for territory, it is war for our heritage and for our future.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much.
So we are very inspired by hearing from what you managed to do in such an adverse context at the moment. And I'm not sure if we have the time to continue because we are already past time. But who can decide this? If we can take some more minutes? We can? 5 more minutes, okay. So just to continue with you, Ihor, first, one question. So you did this amazing work and activated network of and created this initiative, co-created in protecting heritage. But so we are here a room of more than 200 museum professionals and like EMYA community and family of European museums. And we are still, when we talk to each other, we are still wondering what are the best ways? What is it that we can do? How can we contribute? So what advice you can give us? How can we act upon this in a way that would empower you and help you at this moment?
There are a lot of ways, and we discussed it a lot on international level within UNESCO, ICOMOS, and many other international organizations. But there are a lot of ways, starting, for example, from providing the packaging materials, the protection equipment, providing the training courses, and finishing, for example, by organizing and promoting Ukrainian cultural heritage, as it is well done in many countries in Western Europe, and as the bright example in Poland and in many other countries. We are looking forward, and we already have a lot of ideas and projects in the nearest future to bring Ukrainian cultural heritage to many countries and to tell more about our national identity, about our cultural identity, because Putin's main mission was just to destroy our historical memory, our cultural identity. And this is very important. And even some appeals, which a lot of people think to be political and military, close the sky, for example. It is not only political and military. Closing the sky, it is not only for military. It is only closing the sky for our cultural objects, for our collections, for our museums, theaters, libraries, archives. So this is very important, and I think that the power, the cultural diplomacy, the power of the soft power is quite effective today. We should, on different levels, make politicians understand that we are fighting in Ukraine not only for Ukraine. It's not a conflict. It's a large-scale war on the level of the Third World War. And we are protecting here not only our territory and our values, our history and our future. We are protecting the future of the Europe, maybe of the whole world. So a lot of ways, we discuss a lot, and there are we had a lot of statements. What can be done? What should be done? And a lot of international organizations just publish and discuss these things. A lot of conferences. So I think that museum community has a lot of ways to be engaged into this process, and we will be so grateful to these multifunctional efforts which help us in different ways and for different groups of cultural people and institutions in so different situations here in Ukraine now.
Thank you, Ihor, very much, and thank you for joining us from Kiev. And I would love to continue this conversation, but I think we need to leave the stage at one point. So thank you, Dominika and Agnes, and we will stay in touch with you, Ihor.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
So, okay, no problem with the delay. It was very important to hear all this. So, but anyway, I'm very pleased to finally meet you again from this two-dimensional to the two-dimension to the three-dimensional meeting, and finally have our five senses in this room and this with us. So my name is José Gameiro. I'm scientific director of the Museum of Portimão, and my relationship with EMYA started in, I was invited to be judge in 2011, and I left, of course, in 2018. And anyway, this link, this liaison with EMYA just go on, because the Museum of Portimão is now the home, the office and the archive of the EMYA since 2018. So it's a real pleasure to be gone. So let's move for the first panel of this afternoon. And it's very appropriate for this moment in Europe, rethinking local identities. And effectively, what we are seeing, it's a war against the identities, I suppose. So I will come to stage to Virovitica Museum, City Museum from Croatia. Fram Museum from Norway, online, I suppose. I don't know if it is already connected. The Fram Museum. Well, let's hope yes. Summerland Museum for Sweden. Museo Moseano, the Switzerland. And Tunceli Musezi, Turkey. Sorry if it's the wrong name, I don't know. So please. So thank you. I invite you to present yourself when you're beginning. So, as I say, the topic of this panel is rethinking local identities, as you know. And so I invite first Croatia, Virovitica City Museum. I suppose it's the name.
Yes. Hello to everybody. You dear colleagues, I see some future friends. It's Virovitica. It's Virovitica City Museum from Croatia, and I am Mihaela Kule. I am director and senior curator in Virovitica City Museum, and that one here is my colleague, Ivan Borbaš. You will see him around because he is here just to take photos of me, you know. But enough joking. I will now read my text, and I want to see my movie. So we can start. Virovitica is a small city in the north of Croatia, near Hungarian border, but with a rich cultural heritage. One of it is Patchwich Castle, located in the very center of the city of Virovitica. Sorry, I'm really nervous. It is one of a series of Slavonian castles of the famous noble family Patchwich, which was given the noble title Patchwich Virovitički after this manner. The Patchwich family built it between 1800 and 1804. For many years, the castle was slowly decaying and was a mockery in the city center. And in 2016, the government of city of Virovitica applied a tender for the restoration of cultural heritage. And that, as a part of the project, the Patchwich Castle was renovated and the park around it was restored, and the new permanent exhibition was presented to the public in December 2019. So today, the whole castle is in the function of the Virovitica City Museum. And we're proud to mention that the Patchwich Castle is the first exhibit of our museum. The Patchwich Castle is built on the foundations of medieval fortress, which is an added value that our visitors do not see, but can experience it through many interesting ways of interpretation, with a special part of the permanent display called History of the City and the Castle. Here you can chronologically follow the development of Virovitica and its surroundings through rich history from prehistory to the end of 20th century. But we have some new thing to show to our visitors, or as we like to call them, users, and that is Wood Age. And what is Wood Age? It is the second permanent display that we also opened in December 2019. And the Wood Age, as we see it, is untold story. Wood can be traced back to every generation of humankind and at all levels of use. The universality of wood is expressed through all models of use and its uniqueness through artifacts on display in the Virovitica City Museum. Therefore, we present display in which we address general human values based on a local narrative. From its beginnings, man has been connected to wood, the use of wood, design, exploitation, economics and ecology, and more, whether in the household or industry. Therefore, we called the permanent exhibition the Wood Age. It is an age that lasts forever and will last forever. We present wood through three crucial elements of human existence: family, work, and social relation and communication. The innovation we have managed to achieve is moving away from a chronological view of the topic. The theme is presented interdisciplinary to the material, tangible and intangible of all collections, thus shaping the course of the scenario that presents the general human concept through the prism of interaction with wood as a material usable at all levels of human life. In the museum, you can participate in our exhibition by experiencing interactive multimedia. For example, try to cut linden or oak wood and find out how much strength is needed for this. Museum emphasizes the educational and entertaining role in our local community through cooperation with associations that care for people with special needs or health limitation, and through various museum activities for children, such as playrooms, or interactive activities for adults, concerts, promotions, etc. We take care about heritage preservation and environmental awareness through many educational programs and occasional exhibitions. A little museum has become a big one by telling a story about the man and the wood's all-encompassing relationship without forgetting to include the local community. This is why we have been using the slogan Little Big Museum to distinguish our museum from the rest. I manage it. Thank you.
Thank you for your 5 minutes and 2 seconds. So now I don't know if Fram Museum from Norway is online.
I am online.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and can we hear me also?
Yes,
Okay,
I can.
Thank you. Okay, please.
My name is Geir Klöver. I'm the director of the Fram Polar Exploration Museum in Oslo, Norway. I'm sorry I couldn't be there today, but we're planning a brand new building dedicated to climate change and the future of the Arctic, and a committee from the parliament is coming to check our facilities before they decide on the budget on the same day. I have a 25-second video to show you first. So the last 6 years, we have been voted the best museum in Norway on TripAdvisor, but last year in 2021, we were voted the best attraction in Norway of all categories. Of course, we're using that as much as we can. We're a fairly small staffed museum, and we have been active since 1925 to tell the stories of Norwegian and international polar exploration. We operate without government or local support, only living on our ticket income and our shop sales. We also do traveling exhibitions, and the last 10 years we have had traveling exhibitions in 28 countries. And we're also one of the largest producers in the world on literature and books on Norwegian and international polar exploration. So we tell the stories of both early exploration of the Arctic and also of the Antarctic. This whole new project is actually based on the personal diaries of the polar explorers, and publishing these have inspired us to change the entire exhibition, the ships, and all our work, and try to make our ships exploration ready. So based on information we find in the personal diaries of the ship going through storms and ice, etc., we have kind of rebuilt both the interior of the ship and the exterior to make it more like it was when the polar explorers went towards the South Pole and the North Pole. Show you some of the images. In 1892, they put a windmill on board to have lights during the dark Arctic night, and we had to put that one up. The engine room, the first diesel engine in an ocean-going vessel, had to be shown with the smell of diesel and the original sound. The storerooms, also making into an activity center for young and old. Little cinema inside the ship. The cook was famous for his pancakes. The explorer Fridtjof Nansen had to be present based on the original photos. The cabin of explorer Roald Amundsen, also cabins for the other explorers, and then contacting the different families and descendants of these explorers to get personal equipment from them and hanging up private photos from their family's collection to simulate how they lived during their expeditions. Kitchen, storeroom, workrooms. Christmas Eve 1910 on the way to the South Pole, where we're also playing the actual Silent Night recording that they used during that specific Christmas dinner during the expedition. And of course, the main attraction in the museum is the 100-meter long and 6-meter high 10 8K projectors showing storms, the ship through the ice, and all this show is going on rotation during the entire opening hours, and it's become quite a huge attraction in Oslo. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, and keep on board some more time. Okay, so we move on to Summerland Museum, Sweden.
No, too early. There. So, hello, I'm Susanna Janfalk. I'm the director of Sörmlands Museum since just over 2 years. And I'm here together with Kjell Tavo, not to take photographs, but to tell about, to help me tell about the story, because he has been there at the museum for many more years than I have. Sörmlands Museum is a mid-sized county museum south of Stockholm, and it opened in November 2018 in this new building. And it was started in 1918 from the beginning. We are working and have the aim at broaden horizons, create impact, and be a real contributor to individual and societal change. And we are putting people center stage. Sörmland is a heterogeneous region and without one common identity. Relatively high unemployment, low income, no higher education, many blue-collar and many refugees, but also 500 mansions and castles. Our mission is to reach everybody and engage in the whole region. And it's also important then to say that the building is situated in the city of Nyköping and southeast in the region, in a corner of the region of Sörmland. So it makes it even more difficult. These are traditional storerooms before 2018. You can and the collection and the work with coming to the new stage started in 2008 by my predecessor, of course, Karin Lindvall and Kjell and other colleagues. This is the storytelling storerooms.
Making collections available to the public is nothing new, but with new building we could fully implement the vision. We put our storytelling storerooms in the middle of the public space, in all aspects and visible from all exhibit halls. We asked ourselves, how can we let the people in the collections meet? How can we bring history to life in an educational and understandable way? We searched and looked for potential or probable links between objects, archives, and photos. We could then find and bring to life the human stories and contexts that we were contained in the collection. And the collections, I can mention, is around 85,000 items, objects, and 1 million photographs and 500-meter archives. A straitjacket from Sundby Hospital, artist Bernhard Österman's desk, farmer Elsa Roséns shoes, a jacket of a small boy from a large country house. You can see there is a kind of exhibition within the storage room. This is inside the storage. The social context is important. Humans first, photos and short text as well as QR codes in the storage room. We do proactive acquisitions. We try to collect people and groups who haven't been represented in history nor in the collection, not only the noble and the elegant, but also the ordinary and common. And this is to secure diversity among the perspectives. You have visibility into the storage rooms from the museum, but you also have access and in-depth studies through digital stations in different places outside the glass walls. We have free guided tours and programs inside the storage room in a range of themes to attract as many as possible. We are putting on everyone protective coats and shoes in a kind of ritual to enhance the experience, but also, of course, to protect the collection. In order to broaden horizons, we need to address several perspectives on today's urgent matters. To be relevant and interesting, diversity and variation in themes, content, and programs are crucial. And one of our strengths, I would say, is to combine cultural history with crafts, arts, and design. We work consistently with local traditions and life from Summerland as a whole to the 9 municipalities that differ from each other in terms of demography, geography, and size. Combining art, design, slöjd, craft, and cultural history, fashion, and architecture in temporary exhibition as well as in programs and, of course, in the storytelling storerooms. It's also important with participation on visitors' own terms, programs and activities in our main building as well as places around in the region. Public transportation is poor, hence the museum proactively work with outreach programs to meet the audience where they live, go to school and work, but also asking them to come to the museum. Several projects also have a big focus on sustainability, both socially and environmentally. The outdoor exhibitions we often do together in cooperation with the archives, municipalities, and associations of different kinds. We also have consultants or advisors, and they work within the craft field and arts design field, building networks to empower and develop slöjd, craft, and art in the region. They support artists, galleries, and other actors within the field. And they also create platforms for development of skills and for exchange of information. And you all know this is one of many missions a museum in the region has. Collections and exhibitions online offer in-depth facts, and digital visits at the collections has hugely increased, as for us all, I guess. Also, we increased productions of digital content, including translation to other languages and visual interpretations. Of course, a result of COVID-19. collections and exhibitions online. No, nu var det fel. Sorry. We also have the museum shop collaborates with craftsmen and artists to make new things to sell with inspiration from our collection. And this was a work started already in 2015, and it's still going on. And like many of you others, we also work with music, theater, conference, shop, restaurant, and other sorts of programs in the museum to reach out to other groups or new groups. And as an end, Ellis, 6 years, he loves our museum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to show us this critic for 6 years. So this is from Turkey. Tunceli, is this the name, Tunceli? Tunceli Museum?
Hi, I am Ceren İlter. I'm accompanying the director of Tunceli Museum. He is Kenan Öncel. Now I'm starting the presentation. Tunceli province is located in the upper Euphrates basin of Eastern Anatolia region. The province, which is completely within in the Euphrates basin, surrounded by natural borders, high mountains, deep valleys through which the river pass. The province, with its water resources, endemic vegetation, and wild animal diversity, is located in a rich geography. These regions has attracted the attention of people from past to present. The first archaeological studies in this province were carried out between the years 1968 and 1974 as part of Keban Dam rescue excavations. These excavations, which were achieved using scientific methods for first time in Tunceli, were practiced under coordination of Middle East Technical University. In addition, Keban Dam rescue excavations are among the largest rescue excavations in our country. After that, Toskoparan Mound excavations under the leadership of Tunceli Museum, which are still continue, were started in 2021. This excavation, first archaeological study carried out with scientific methods after museum opened. I can check. When it comes to Tunceli, a great richness of imaginations emerged, one of which is the story of transformation of military barracks, which was established decades ago. In this building transformed into a museum as a cultural service building. This is the groundbreaking ceremony of this building. Started in constructions started in 1935 with a sacrifice. This building, which was completed in 1937, was in the style of German architecture and was first used as a military base. This historical building, which became the first public building in the city, and was used as a lodging for civil servants until 1999. Also, another important thing for this building is that this building that carries the city's life story, historical and cultural accumulation in its memory. These barracks hosted about 80 families, which are deprived and marginalized until 2050s. Then even this building was regarded as a neighborhood, as a administrative unit. And these are these photographs of before restoration of the building. And I couldn't move next slide. Yeah. And yes. This traditional lifestyle that has entered hundreds of years ago has been kept alive in this historical building. The building hosted traditional lifestyle, and if it comes in 2000s, you can see the life in this building, and the building was damaged by a fire in 1910. Transformation, let's see how. And you can see the photographs. Sorry. While I'm passing the photographs, I should mention about this. After transformation, the museum mission is to draw tangible and intangible cultural maps of the city, and the exhibitions of the museum. In the exhibition of the museum, there are archaeological, ethnographic, traditional, agriculture, production system, vegetation, flora, fauna samples, and the belief systems of the Tunceli, which is Alevi, and you can see rock tombs. They are shaped as horse and ram, and also you can see community history of Republic period. Yes, you can see the archaeological findings in the museum. Yes, these are ethnographical assets. And the coins, local culture, yes, this is agricultural and belief system. Yes, okay. And also in the museum events such as theater, concerts, open air, movies, art exhibitions. Storytelling events, live performance for children and disadvantaged groups are every hour, at least twice a week. And museum, another mission of the museum is a communication center in a social way, which aims to be a live museum. For the city. Yes, you can see the after, before and after photos of the building.
Can you finish, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing the evolution of your museum and identity. Everything is solved? It's okay? Okay, oh, good. Thank you. So, finally, Switzerland.
So, I'm Nicola Castelletti. I represent today Museo Moesano. I'm very happy to be here. So, Moesano is a region in the south-speaking part of Switzerland. It's a small valley. The museum offers 3 permanent exhibitions. One is ethnographic, one is archaeologic, and the one I present today is about Magistri Moesani, and this is the new one. Magistri are artists and craftsmen such as architect, sculptures, and plaster that took the Italian style to the Northeast Europe during the Baroque period. When we started this project, we found in the register 800 names collected in 150 years of persons that moved in direction of Austria, Germany, Poland, with this art to work and to survive. This was the beginning of our work, because we decided to carve all these names, because all these family names still exist after more than 400 years. This is the way they moved to work in Europe. From Moisano, as you see, is in the south of Switzerland till the northeast of Europe. And we wanted an interactive experience for our visitors. This is an example. We print on a carpet the pathway of this emigration. The exhibit is organized in the 5 rooms that place magistri in the artistic context of Europe. All at the end, you can get a map and bring that with you and get in the Museo Moisano. That means a museum outside the museum. So visit the few architectures that magistri lived at home, where they were in Moisano. And before start our video, an important thing to say is that all the exhibition has been built by people that lost his work and participate to professional retraining. And this is the trailer of our video. It's possible to have the audio. Because also the music goes with. This is a data bank. Okay, and thank you.
Thank you. Well, as I said, this is for reflecting some ideas about rethinking local identities. One first question, are you thinking to rethinking anything of your identity exhibitions or work? Or not yet? So,
is this work? Yes. What did you ask?
you remember that our topic is rethinking local identities.
Yes.
And the question is, if you are thinking to rethinking your work or exhibitions in your museum from now, for example.
We have that special situation, some kind of special situation. I was in that time, in that period, when the castle was renovated, I was left alone in museum.
Left alone?
Really, yes. And I was thinking, like, what to do now. I didn't want to do same old story about typical municipal museum with archaeological collection, you know, or the archaeological exhibit, or cultural historical, or gallery exhibit, or ethnographical. And I was really rethinking, not just our local identity. I think that we are all part, even in Virovitica, we are all part of the world identity. So I was thinking about how to put our local identity on universal level. And I don't know if I managed to do that.
Okay.
But we did that story about wood age. We did that story about wood through all levels or many levels of our community. And I am aware that our material is maybe local, but you know, you can come to visit our museum and relate it with it. Yes,
Okay.
it's universal.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
So in Framhuset in Norway, so what kind of identity local did you, I suppose it's not local, I don't know, what kind of...
No, not so much local identities, but it's more new interpretation of national heritage.
Okay.
And I think we kind of tell the story differently based on the personal diaries of the explorers from previously talking about the skiing 3,000 kilometers to the South Pole, back and forth in 100 days. We are no more focusing on the planning process and all the relationship between the crew members of how they together made these results possible. Because in the past, it's only the famous explorers, Nansen and Amundsen, that have got national and international credit for these big achievements. And now we want to give credit to all the crew members that participated and made these amazing results possible. So I think in the new exhibitions in the museum, there's a lot more about the others, which were previously completely unknown to the general public.
Yeah, thank you. So in Sweden, do you want to talk a bit about these different identities you have in your communities? Or you work with all them?
Yeah. Do you hear me? Yeah. We have made a big effort to try to identify what types of stories and identities and stuff like that we miss in our collections. So that was a big part of this work with when we moved all of our collections to the new house to try to establish what was lacking in and then a big part of the process was making documentations and collecting stories and about those groups that we identified as missing.
So you want to be, in a certain way, a permanent observatory of your community in order to promote other ways to show and to put them together, I suppose.
Yeah, that was a big part of it, trying to look at our old collections and see what connections we could find between the objects, the archives, and the photographs, and try to put them together to tell stories of whole lives, like so. So that was a big part of it.
And you in Turkey, so about this link between the past and the present, and even the future of your identities, local identities and communities. How do you work?
Actually, this museum building is regarded as milestone for city because there was no urbanized area before this building, and after construction of that the area urbanized. So this is also symbolizes the how can I say process of this urbanization. So also symbolizes of from past to future. So also this building, museum also aims to be a communication center for city, because this city people migrate for a lot of opportunities for metropolitan areas. So people from this city can find connections in this museum. So also the museum provides a lot of diversity, for example, archaeological findings, ethnographic and social history of the city. So the people can easily find their connections and local identity catchments here.
Okay, thank you. And to finish in Switzerland, you make some links between these old immigrations with some new ones, or?
The population of Moisano don't know the history of this important artistic heritage. So they start now to know this. And this exhibition is quite new. And so I think it's the process that starts now, and we will see in the future what is happening, if the exhibition is good or not.
Okay, so I pretend not to be to make interview, but to permit a dialogue between you all. So if any of you have some question to put to another, for example, you want to know something about our colleagues from you. So, you can start.
I think that the pandemic and now the war has put both local identity and rethinking on a new level, and that we all have been thinking about what are we doing, or for whom, and what can we do different, and who will we, can we and will we meet. And so I think it's an ongoing work for all of us, I guess. I'm sure it is. And that's what we have to deal with and work with very hard, I think. And what is even local anymore.
Okay. And if you want to know a little more about the other, different identities here, so maybe it's a moment. No? From a farm museum, you have some idea about some question to your colleagues?
I think all of them very different and very interesting different topics. So what we're doing here now with the museum, with a lot of international visitors and 10 languages on all panels, including Russian. We are now including Ukrainian from next week, so that at least we're not making any separation and putting focus with so many now Ukrainian refugees in the country.
Okay. So do you think you are in some way, the museums that you represent are also working to be that kind of bridge between local and different identities in your same cities, for example? Are you trying to be that bridge, or do you think you can be successful? And you can answer.
I think in that aspect, we have worked a lot with craft and slöjd and stuff like to like overcome language barriers and try to work with different groups in the society and see what we can learn of each other by doing things. So and it's a really good way of starting a conversation and starting talking. So it's that's a good way of a starting point, at least, for that.
Okay. And do you receive some influence about your visitors to change your way to see or to show?
Yes, of course. I agree with you. Yes, we do the same thing, and all my team, all my colleagues enjoy that post-COVID time. Maybe I can call it like this. I don't know. I'm not sure. yet when really a big number of visitors come to see our museum, because we have that not good karma, let's say it like that, that we opened in end of the 2019. And then was pandemics, and we are a new museum, and everything was like, come to see us, and nobody came. But now we are taking the fruit from that tree, and yes, we have that special, so I am all about special situation. We have that special situation in Virovitica because we have ethnics, which we called Mikeshi, and which we present in our wood age. You know, through that wood material, we managed to do that. And lots of people from not from Croatia, but all from all part of Europe, are really surprised when they can correlate, yes, with Mikeshi, you know, Mikeshi ethnics from Virovitica, which is a small special group of people who have their own language and their own character and everything.
Okay. So, any of you want to? Hello, from no? Okay. Sorry.
Also, this museum was opened at the end of the year of 2020. So some questions, maybe we don't have answers for some questions, but it is a good start for this region, because this area is known for in our country, their belief system, their local, rich localities, local heritage. So this museum is a good start.
Okay, thank you. From Norway, any final? Norway, yes, from museum.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to present from through the digital connection, as it was not possible to be there. So I hope you'll enjoy the other presentation and the festivities.
Okay, thank you. So, I suppose it's really exactly on time. Thank you. Oh, this is mine.
Okay, thank you. My name is Adriana Muñoz, and I am going to moderate this session. I am Argentinian Swedish. I am curator at the National Museums of World Culture in Sweden, and especially in charge of the Latin American collections that they are housed in that country. Just now, I have the pleasure to invite 5 museums to the stage. We have 2 online. We are going to present 5 museums that has to do with 5 men that you are going to recognize by names. You don't need to say so much about them. That they went locally to a global heritage. Not only European, but I can say that it's global, and coming back local to the locals, because their houses from the childhood became museums that you are going to listen just now. In a way, these 5 men were revolutionaries. They changed paradigms, and now the houses that are museums reconnect the heritage that they left, the past, the present, and the future. So I want to invite the Beethoven House, the Hegel House Museum, Nicolaus Copernicus House, Ludwig Erhard Center, and Capodistrias Museum to here, please. Oh, thank you. Please. And we have here, hello. So I think we are online. It's the Hegel House, or?
Hello from Stuttgart, from the Hegel House.
Hello. And the Ludwig Herrer is online also, or? Ah, yeah. Oh, please. Excuse me, because I have here that you are going to be online. The first big mistake. So sorry. So please.
Okay, hello. My name is Michał Klusiński. I'm custodian and I'm manager of Nicolaus-Copernicus House. On stage with me is my colleague Alicja Lubowicka, and we both work together in Nicolaus-Copernicus House. Okay, first of all, the person, the hero, our hero, it's Nicolaus Copernicus. He lived in time 1473-1543. He was the great astronomer, of course. He was the great scientist, but he was revolutionary. He was revolutionary before the Copernicus role and place. The man, it was in the center of the universe, but after Copernicus, we are only the small points in the huge universe, huge space. So this is the lesson from Nicolaus Copernicus' work and job. And Nicolaus Copernicus House, it's here, it's our museum. It's the complex 2 tenement houses which came from late medieval times. And the building on the left, in the past, it's owned by the merchant Nicolaus Copernicus' father. He arrived in Torun in half 14th century, and he married Barbara Watzenrode. She was the daughter of a very influential family from Burgers family from Torun. Okay, our museum is the part of the district museum in Torun. The Torun is inscribed to UNESCO Heritage, World Heritage list, and we are the part of this heritage, World Heritage. Nicolaus Copernicus House is the part of this World Heritage, of course. We have the seven main departments on the old Torun. For example, the Museum of History of Torun, and especially the Gingerbread Torun. The Gingerbread Museum was nominated to EMYA Award a few years ago, and we have the next nomination, so we are very, very, very proud. Okay, modernization. Our exhibition, our building, with revitalization of the building, took place since September 2017 to June 2018. It was very short time. It's only the 9 months, and it was I think so. It's a very slow cost because it was only 4 million euro. The money from of course, the European Union Development Funds. And exhibition, new permanent exhibition. It's very important for us because this is not the story only about the Nicolaus Copernicus. This is the combining 3 topics about, of course, Nicolaus Copernicus, but the science is very important for us, astronomy before Copernicus and after Copernicus, and especially the everyday life in the Middle Ages time, because we have the original building, we have the original interiors from medieval times. And now I have the short trip by our exhibition. We can see the first room. We're beginning in the cellar, our visitor in our museum. And this is the first room when we describe astronomical observatories in past time. For example, in Arkham, in Kazakhstan, in Egypt, in Babylon. And the next room, we can see the story about the astronomy in ancient Greece, in medieval times, and in pre-Renaissance times. And in main building, we have the story about the family of Nicolaus Copernicus. And this is the original interior from Middle Ages time. For example, this is the beautiful wardrobe, original wardrobe from 15th century, the bed from This is the reconstruction, of course. Okay, and this is the story about Nicolaus Copernicus. So this is the three topics: science, Nicolaus Copernicus, and everyday life in medieval times. Okay, I give the voice for my colleague Alicja Lubowicka.
Hello, I'm very nervous to be here. Sorry, happy to be here. I would like to share some photos with you and the rest of the story, but I can see that we have only 2 minutes. So maybe, as you can see, we've got some new media to tell about Nicolaus Copernicus. And what is important to us that we want to combine our traditions and new media in our museum, that everyone can access information and knowledge. As you can see, we've got application. We can download it from App Store. Then we've got also an audio guide in 3 languages. It's English, Polish, of course, and German. There's almost 2 hours tour with the commentary to our objects. And maybe at first I should tell you that we want to tell the story of Nicolaus not only as a genius and a man of Renaissance, but also as a man. Copernicus was also a child without a father. He was a commander, he was a medic. He was a man, and this is the information we want to spare to our visitors. Then, of course, we celebrate the birthday of Nicolaus Copernicus, and we organize some lectures and film reviews. As you can see, it's very popular in Toruń. And we organize also night museum at night when you can visit us and take part in tours. And at the end, I want to tell you that we organize also workshops. As you can see, the children are very happy to fit medieval gowns and learn something new about Copernicus. Thank you. Thank you.
And now we are going to change here, and it's going to be the Hegel House. It's online. Perfect, yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
You can see me, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, my name is Christina Palmer. I'm the director of the Hegel House Museum in Stuttgart, and I'm happy to be part on this way in your conference. First of all, I would like to briefly introduce you to the museum and focus then on 2 special highlights of our museum. I brought you some photos to show it. So, Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, one of Stuttgart's greatest sons and one of the most important philosophers of the 19th century, would have celebrated his 250th birthday on 27th of August in 2020. The newly designed Hegel House Museum was reopened on this day in the philosopher's birthplace in Stuttgart to mark this important anniversary. With a completely redesigned Hegel House Museum, the city of Stuttgart encourages its citizens, schools, and student groups, as well as museums guests from all over the world to engage with the person of Hegel and his philosophical works. In the heart of Stuttgart, the Hegel House is an artifact of times gone by and breathes the spirit of the famous German philosopher. The newly designed permanent exhibition is characterized by many hands-on and media stations. The exhibition texts are kept short, but the media stations allow you to delve deeper in the different topics if you like. In order to give our international visitors an insight in Hegel's life and work too, The exhibition is not only available in German, but also in English and Chinese. In addition to the permanent exhibition, I would like to introduce you to two important highlights of our new museum. The first one is the multimedia show Hegel for Beginners. The visit to the museum begins on the ground floor with the multimedia installation Hegel for Beginners, which uses floor-to-ceiling projections and advanced 3D technology to blur the boundaries between multimedia and reality. By means of visual stunning scenes and life-size narrators, such as the famous actor from Stuttgart, Walter Sittler, you can see him on the photos. Visitors are immersed in Hegel's biography and philosophy, and themselves become part of the installation. This multimedia experience is available in 3 languages too, in German, English, and Chinese. When visitors enter the room, they are greeted by Hegel himself with a wink and in Swabian dialect. The second highlight is the escape room, the phenomenology of the spirit, which was one of the first permanent escape rooms in a German museum. The players travel back to Hegel's time at Jena University, where the philosopher has just completed a new book called The Phenomenology of the Spirit and is pondering on whether or not to publish the manuscript. The actor's mission is to make sure that it is. Visitors immerse themselves in a playful way in the life world of the great philosopher. A group of up to 5 players have to sneak in Hegel's study in the dead of night and solve tricky puzzles. But watch out, you must not wake the philosopher asleep next door. Once all puzzles have been solved, the players find the manuscript, but Hegel has also a surprise in stock. The escape room and the multimedia installation are both unique and special mediation offers and allow playful access to the complex thinking of Hegel. Our intention is to provide a first introduction to Hegel's life and work. With the new museum, we want to take the visitors' fear of confronting with a thinker who is not quite simple to understand, and we want to encourage them in the exhibition to engage with him more deeply. And so we are very proud to be nominated this year. So thanks for your attention.
Well then, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Michael Henker, and I'm the Chief Museum Advisor to the Ludwig Erhard Center in Fürth, in Germany. Not many people of you will have visited Fürth before, but I invite you all to do so in a short time, because we tried to build a real nice museum and center around the person and personality of Ludwig Erhard. Around 2010, we got the chance to purchase the birthhouse of Ludwig Erhard in Fürth, and this is when we started on our journey transforming this house into a museum. Thanks for the opportunity that we are part of this rally and that we can present. And let me give the hearty Grüß Gott of our team and of the boss of the Ludwig Erhard Foundation, who could not be with me today, but they wanted to greet you all, and they're keeping their fingers crossed that everything will work well. I see that the clock doesn't go down on my thing, which I think is very good. I try now, if I can go on. Whoop. The green, yes. I did. There it goes. Okay, then welcome to the Ludwig Erhard House. We opened the museum in 2018 in Ludwig Erhard's hometown of Fürth. And there you see a rather illustrious company who was with us in this opening. Chip, next one. The green. There you go. Ludwig Erhard was the first Minister of Economic Affairs from 1949 till 1963, and the second Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany at that time, from 63 to 66. He's one of the founding fathers of the modern Germany, and he's commonly known as the father of the social market economy and the German economic miracle, as it has been called in the past. You see him here with his bestseller, Wohlstand für alle, which was translated into the English to prosperity through competition, which has nothing to do with Wohlstand für alle. It is now prosperity through competition. Both apply. And you see him here in his full presence. 1922 is a special year for the Ludwig Erhard Center because Ludwig Erhard would have turned 125 years this year in February of 2022. On this occasion, we celebrated an anniversary ceremony in Fürth's beautiful municipal theater. But let me give you a show of the museum. We have a unique museum here, and you can see what it consists of. It consists of the new building, the birth house of Ludwig Erhard directly across the street, and the learning supermarket right next to the birth house. The clock is now going too fast because I have only 45 seconds left, and that cannot be correct. So I don't give another look. Okay, try to pick up the unique museum. Here you got the three buildings. You have the birth house on your left, and then the next building is the new museum building and the forum that we have built, and the learning supermarket is right next to the birth house. We are a museum in all respects, but we're more than museum. We're also a place for education and research and a forum for discussion. So you see the museum, the typical museum aims that we have. We are a place for collection, preservation, research, interpretation, and exhibition. And we fill out every one of those. The permanent exhibition is in the birth house. We have 3 ways to go through the permanent exhibition. We have the Meet Ludwig Erhard in the birth house. We have Experience Social Market Economy in the birth house, part of it in the birth house, and also then in the new building. And we have Discover History in several special room compartments in the new building. Yep. In January of this year, on the occasion of Erhard's 125th birthday, we opened a new part of the permanent exhibition in the so-called treasure chamber. We displayed the exhibition Ludwig Erhard, the original. For the very first time, personal objects and photographs from Erhard's legacy are here on display, and we could purchase them from South Africa. It was a very interesting story how we got those. We are trying to help young people to find their way through through our days, we're collecting and preserving cultural heritage. We have a research department that we just opened with a young professor, and we do this in connection with the IFO Institute, which is Germany's most advanced economic research institute. We're a forum of dialogue with a couple of series of speeches, but also open formats with discussions. Each year we invite young people from Asia, Africa, to an international summer school, and obviously my time is is running out. Ludwig Erhard is not yesterday's man, and this is why we chose our to be our slogan. Anything but a yesterday's man. So we put the cap with the LAZ on his head, and this is more or less the rest of it. The social market economy, the interactive future room, where we have 5 fundamental questions how to deal with in the present, and how to go around with them through into the past. We can skip this one, and here you can see that we take our heroes serious, but we also have the capacity of putting our tongue in cheek now and again. And this is where you meet him, in front of our museum. Thank you for listening.
And now, please, Capodistrias. So we...
Okay. Hello. Oh, it is us. Hello, good afternoon. It's so nice to be among all of you. My name is Daria Koskoru, and I'm the director, curator of the Capodistrias Museum. And I'm here. Where does this, here? Where do I have, the big green button. Okay. So I'm here to talk about a small museum in idyllic rural Corfu Island in Greece, situated at its side, that tells the story of the first head of state of modern Greece. Ioannis Kapodistrias was his name. And he's one of the, still to this day, one of the most influential political figures of modern Greek history. But he's relatively unknown to a wider international audience, not everywhere, but I think it's necessary to give you some very basic information about him and his life. He lived in the turbulent forming times of the early 19th century Europe, and he lived for 56 years, but there's a lot of change that happened then. So he was born in Corfu in the late 18th century, of aristocratic descent. He studied medicine, but soon changed career paths to become a politician, a diplomat, and a statesman. Leaving Corfu in early 19th century for a position in the diplomatic corps of the Russian Empire, he rose meteorically in the ranks of European diplomacy and helped redefine Europe in the post-Napoleonic era. He had a pivotal role in restoring lasting peace after the Napoleonic Wars. And his contribution affected the nation building across Europe. His final period as a politician was great and a tragic one, as he became the first governor, which was the title of president at the time of modern Greece, and he was assassinated on the job. So our museum is in Corfu, in his old country estate, And our museum motto is a small museum, a grand story. Because it tells the story of this man, and through the biography of Kapodistrias, highlights the links between modern Greek and European histories, and the struggles of the people across Europe and the world for peace, prosperity, and self-determination through the art of diplomacy and the rule of law. The museum was actually the vision of a woman, a great woman and descendant of Kapodistrias. It's her. Her name was Maria Kapodistrias de Silla, who, towards the end of her life, she decided to donate the ancestral country house and estate to 3 Corfu cultural organizations and tasked them to work together in order to create this museum about the life and legacy of Kapodistrias. The museum was founded in the early 80s, but for 30 years had very limited operation. Its fate changed recently. After gaining enough funding, the building and garden was renovated, the collection carefully curated, and new services were added for a contemporary visitor and stakeholder of a museum. And the museum was then reopened in 2017, but I always suggest that it restarted. And apart from the site that it opened again, the museum offered a new online digital archive of Kapodistrias archival material, so virtually connecting collections across Europe. And all these are pictures of people coming to our garden and our estate and have a community meeting or a community performance and getting together on a very playful and recreative attitude on the top of the hill. So as you can see, we're a museum located on the outskirts of a village, on an island, which is on the periphery of Greece, which is on the periphery of Europe. And even to top that, our story is of a man and of a period of Greek history that is relatively unknown to the international audience and the visitors and the travel, and which is a heavily touristic island. And tourism is the main, by far, sector of our economy. So we're working hard to make it even in the exhibition, the links, but also to give another opportunity of experiencing, experiencing Corfu, as and turn it into something like a cultural sanctuary, a peaceful space to experience the history of the island and the culture of the island compared to the busy coasts. This is how Corfu looks in the summer. So we invest to be inclusive and to give our community a sense of ownership. And because we are located where we are, we're very active in reaching out to telling our stories online, or where people are found in the city, in our town, and be connected wherever possible, and give this kind, tranquil environment opportunity for our visit. So. Both Kapodistrias' life and journey and our historic garden give us the lenses through which to explore contemporary issues, contemporary lifestyles, such as issues of leadership, sustainability, and to reunite with, and to help us rethink our future through the study of the past. Our small little museum is growing now, and its roots, we hope, will soon sprout a strong, sustainable museum able to address all these challenges we all face, and to be an open topos to include us all our stories. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicole Kemken, and I'm the head of the museum in the Beethoven House in Bonn. And I would like to give you a short introduction to our new Beethoven House. It was opened on the occasion of the start of the celebrations for the 205th anniversary of the birth of Ludwig van Beethoven. And of course, we intended to celebrate the whole year 2020, but in March it was abruptly terminated. The house where Ludwig van Beethoven was born is one of the few remaining houses in Bonn built in the 8th century and is thus placed under strict monumental protection. Beethoven's parents lived in the garden wing and left the house when he was 3 years old. None of the later Beethoven houses in Bonn has survived. Of the rooms are quite tiny. The winding building creates a very special historic atmosphere. And our aim was to put an exhibition inside the building that matches it perfectly. The newly designed exhibition showcases the historic building at its best. The exhibition tells stories from and about Beethoven's life, with the historical exhibits from the world's largest and most diverse Beethoven collection playing the leading roles. Visitors find themes that not only inform their minds, but sparks their emotions. For instance, the section on work and everyday life, or the area covering Beethoven's networks, or Blows of Fate. This room illustrates the disturbed times brought on by the onset of deafness. On the one hand, the exhibition focuses on Beethoven as a person, a human being as you and me, but on the other hand, we also wanted to illustrate the progress in art he ensued. It was one of the most difficult challenges to find a way to enable the visitor to approach Beethoven as an artistic genius. Using selected works, the exhibition tells how Beethoven set new standards, radically broke with existing conventions, and became one of the most important composers in music history. In the media guide, excerpts from all the exhibited works can be heard, and the exhibition is thus accompanied by music, conveys joy in music, and makes visitors want to hear more. Of course, the original edition of the Ninth Symphony is also on display here, and the story that Beethoven provided the prototype for the European anthem is told in the media guide. By setting Schiller's poem, "All men will emerge as brothers," to music, Beethoven was a forerunner of the European ideal. With his humanistic ideals, Beethoven has long become the epitome of the pioneer of international understanding throughout the world. His music appeals equally to people of all cultures, ethnicities, and religions, and erases borders in a way that makes language barriers disappear. Therefore, of course, we raised the Ukrainian flag after the war had begun and added special welcome offers for the refugees to our already extensive educational program. Also, we installed the Hope for Peace emergency aid program with our president, the violinist Daniel Hope, that provides living space and organizes benefit concerts with and for the benefit of musicians in need from the conflict region. And last but not least, the installation Swirling Sounds in the room where Beethoven is said to have been born creates a poetic place, making for a magical encounter with Beethoven's creativity and work. More music can be heard in the small music room. Here we also provide regular performances on 2 historic keyboard instruments, bringing visitors closer to music as Beethoven would have heard it. Our treasury offers visitors the opportunity to original manuscripts and step into Beethoven's composing room, where they can see in a film how Beethoven worked. Special exhibitions are regularly devoted to various themes, often held in collaboration with other institutions and museums. With the Beethoven Archive Research Department on our site, the latest research findings can be showcased without delay. The Beethoven House is also a venue for international and national congresses and conferences, and there are regular programs for international early career researchers and concerts to promote young musicians and artists from around the world. With the new exhibition format, there is no longer a guided tour route through the museum, but visitors can stroll freely through the buildings, find their own paths, and, depending on their particular focus or interest, delve into the various themes at will. The atmosphere is friendly. Visitors enjoy the historical setting of the exhibition rooms. We welcome people from all over the world, irrespective of their origin, educational background, or age. With low threshold offerings, we take an open house approach and offer something for all. Of course, the best thing is to visit the real museum, but we also opened the Beethoven House to Google Arts and Culture, and we provide our whole collection in our digital archive on our own website. Now, thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you soon in Bonn.
I want to say first that I have the magnificent opportunity to visit almost all your museums, so I hope that during the coffee you have exchange of experiences, because they were wonderful museums, all of them, and you face almost the same problems and challenges for the future also. I was thinking that there are two possibilities here. I was thinking that Hegel House, Copernicus House, and Beethoven, you have the three persons that changed the paradigms in astronomy.
What is the revolution today?
It's for you, the question.
It's a very good question, and it's a very strong question, but what is the revolution today? With Copernicus' perspective, it's a very interesting question, because maybe Elon Musk and his journey to the Mars is some revolution, some change to us. Maybe outside civilization, we discover outside civilization sometimes. So I think so. With Copernicus' perspective, this is the revolution, and change it for the level of Copernicus. But what is the revolution is very, very, very interesting question.
Do you want to say something? Or I don't know.
I just want to say that Copernicus was also a man in search of answers. So he's like, today we've got questions, and he was tirelessly trying to reach those answers. So this is common for us today, I believe.
I don't know if you think about these questions in...
Yes, I would like to add something, like you said, because for Beethoven, he always tried to give his best. He worked from first sketches until final work, very, very hard work, and he was always trying to be better. And that's something we can adopt to our own lives, and it's also what we want to show in the new museum, because we didn't have that before in the museum. How you can, from a single sketch, what can come out in the end when you just try hard and try to give your best.
What your experience in the Hegel House?
We try to convey to people that Hegel was a philosopher of freedom and a rational person, and we want to show that his philosophy of the three steps with thesis, antithesis, and synthesis is can used also today to argue to argument in discussions, and it's possible to transform his philosophy to today. And we want to show this to the visitors, and want to give this a presence in our program. We have in the cellar lectures and so on, to show it's in these times today it's necessary to argue, and therefore Hegel is perfect to show this.
Thank you. And I was thinking that Ludwig Erhard and your museum, both museums, are these politicians in a way, having an idea about how Europe and how their own countries. And I'm wondering how you connect this to the reality today that we are living just now, probably, or thinking coming exhibitions.
Yeah, well, we take other points. It works. Oh, thanks. We take up the point in a very easy way, I think, in the supermarket, in the learning supermarket, to introduce young people to an ever-changing economic situation and to know the parallels between the end of the Second World War, where Germany and Europe, you could say, or even the world, were in a huge and severe economic crisis and faced the task how to get through there. Not much has changed, actually. If we put the right questions to the museum work that we do, and if we adapt this now and again, then we get clever answers through museum work at Ludwig Erhard House.
Mm-hmm. So in our case, Capodicios lived in a period of transformation, political transformation. The old hegemonies were falling apart and the nation states were being conceived. And it was like a crack opening in his times, and he allowed. So that's transferable. And through his work, we can see, through his personality and his stance towards the new, things that are transferable, such as you cannot create policies that are unjust, because they're going to be short-lived. So once we're going to get together and put all the signs, signatures, it better be sustainable. Otherwise, we're going to meet again. And other things that are very relevant to today, of course, is issues of leadership. Now, we were redesigning the museum in the decade that Greece was experiencing a dire financial crisis. So it was soul-searching on many levels for our society, and issues of leadership were very, very relevant. And we see that with our Greek visitors a lot. They go through the, we still do soul searching of how do we want to advance. And we're looking at figures like Capodistrias. And another core thing that two core issues that we really explore in the exhibition and in our educational programming is the priority he gave to education and to people's self-determination and property, and so that they could be free, they could be educated and free to design their own destiny.
Mm-hmm. One thing that when I was visiting, amazing for children today. I was traveling in pandemics, and still was amazing that you have such huge number of children. And I want to know from you, how was the experience to incorporate all these young audiences in this kind of histories? So probably you can start there.
We did a lot of digital work during the pandemic, and we thought our visitors are almost older people who have interest in Hegel, who knows Hegel. And when we opened after the lockdown, we had a lot of young people, around about 20, and we are very surprised about that fact. And it's nice to see them in the exhibition, and they're very interested. And we, our escape room is a point that's interesting for younger people too. They can use it at the age of 12, and it's a good way to get in touch with Hegel. And so we think we had a lot of younger visitors because of our digital appearance.
Mm-hmm. And for you in the Copernicus House?
I think the key is to give them the chance to participate in something. So when we organize workshops, we are caring that they can create something by their own. But what I want to say that the key is also the story. They are included in the story because we've got some tools we increased accessibility in our museum, so everybody can be a part of the story. And how? We've got, for example, a replica of a watch. Then we've got a film how to use it. And then we've got also an object, so the story is complete. So the kid can also learn something and use it on their own way.
And for you?
Yes, for us, it's very good to send out our staff, our museum staff, into the schools and the kindergartens. And the music teachers are always very happy when we say we take over the Beethoven part. And they have 4 or 5. The whole class comes into the Beethoven House. And normally they come on the closing day on Tuesday, and they have the whole museum for themselves, and they really enjoy being there and seeing everything they have heard about before. And of course, we know that's the only chance to get a lot of young people to hear Beethoven's music, because, of course, at home they would never hear, they would never listen to. And at the end, they stand in our chamber music hall and singing some early Beethoven song or something like that, which is always very touching.
Lovely. And for you?
Yeah, we use a lot of the opportunity to send out to schools material and educational programs so that the Capodistris is taught in Greek schools as first head of state. So in our head, we help them make history more fun and more creative. And then, by the way, some of the schools can later come and visit us. It's a way of getting into the circuit, but it's also a way of something that they have to do at school, at least in Greece. It becomes more alive and more interpretative. And then in the actual educational programs on site, we use a lot of gadgets and technology to help them, not to help to bridge the gap, because we have discovered that the younger generation feels so comfortable with digital gadgets that it's easier. We become more friendly if we allow them to use them as part of the programming. They participate and they're more receptive. And then for younger children, we have the garden, which is a gift for us because they're free to play. We have like hunting games, but apart from that, families feel safe and secure to come and visit and revisit. It's free of cars, free of noises, and they can, as a family, relax.
I had the opportunity to play with in Ludwig Erhard in the shop. I was so surprised also that there were so many children in the exhibitions, because they are really a topic that it's not for children.
Yeah, that's correct. And we put much labor in it to make the audiences aware that this possibility exists. As Ludwig Erhard is not on the timetable in the school system in Bavaria, but economy is. So we found our ways into the ministries and into the local authorities to make them aware of this offer that we have there. And we aimed at that part of the audience, the possible audience from the very beginning, but we were very, very pleased that we had such heavy response. And it's still there. It was not a first thing, but it is continuing.
I don't know if we have more time, but I want to recommend that you visit these museums. They are amazing, and you are doing a great job. And I hope that after you have this conversation in between, because there is so much to continue having this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.